Well, hello everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Backed by popular demand, we got Greyson Geiler, advisor to monetary metals. How you doing, Greyson?
Hey, Dave. Thanks for having me back again.
Well, thanks for being back. We got a lot to talk about today.
Well, right. Over the last couple of weeks, we talked about how monetary metals is filling a true economic need. I mean, people who own gold want a return on their capital, and people in the gold and silver businesses need to borrow capital in gold and silver terms. It's a real win-win.
No doubt, it indeed is. So we're getting a lot of recurring questions, and I would say the number one question that we're getting is the security of the transaction. So people want to know if they send their product in, are they going to get their product back?
Sure. Yeah, I get it. And that's a very important question. First and foremost, monetary metals is primarily using Asahi and Delaware depositories. Okay, so the metal is absolutely secure there. They both have a remarkable historical track record and insurance to cover any foreseen losses. So that's number one. Number two, the second thing to understand is these lease programs, the gold and silver is always the depositor's metal. It's always your metal, always in physical form, always under lock and key with insurance. Terry Metals never owns the metal. The business leasing the metal from you never owns the metal either. There's insurance all the way through the system in case of anything unforeseen happening, including theft. Also, keep in mind that Monetary Metals has been doing this for 6 years now. It's completed a third-party financial audit, which is a big deal. They've also completed a SOC 2 audit, which tests the security framework of the company's operational system. That's a big deal too. So the metal is extremely safe. Monetary Metals has been doing this since 2016. They've done about 60 leases now, zero losses, zero distresses. So to narrow it down, let's look at it like this. There are really three layers to each lease. First is the due diligence, vet out the deal itself, the business needs, making sure there's a true economic need for the lease. Then there's the financial background checks. So layer two is if the company passes that, then it's all about their operations. Where's the metal going to be? Where can it flow to? Who has access? Are there strong internal controls? The monitoring of the gold and silver inventory. So with all that preparation, layer three is if something goes wrong, there are company guarantees behind it, personal guarantees behind it, and insurance. Does that help?
Yes, that is a good explanation. That clears things up. So the second question that we're getting, the most common question that I've been getting is, so I know we could send a bank wire to Monetary Metals and Monetary Metals could purchase the product for customers. Let's say if someone sends Gold Eagles will they get Gold Eagles back? Or if somebody sends 1 ounce silver buffalo rounds, are they going to get 1 ounce silver buffalo rounds back? So if you send the same product in, are you going to get that same product back?
Okay, that's a good question too. The simple answer is no. So if you have numismatic metal, do not send it in. The metal you send in will be converted to gold and silver pool, which is a generic bullion in a storage facility. That's much more efficient for these lease programs. But keep in mind, if the bulk of the metal that you have, let's say for an example, you have 100 Gold Eagles that you want to return on and you send those in, you're going to be getting a premium when it's converted to pool. So maybe 100 Gold Eagles turns into 102 ounces of gold pool. Does that make sense?
It does, but for somebody that doesn't know what gold pool is, could you explain that simply?
Sure. So gold pool is what these depositories have that is just a commoditized pool of gold or silver, even platinum. So you send in specific coins, and what is allocated to you is going to be a chunk of a 100-ounce bar.
Okay, I'm with you so far.
So let's say you've been earning interest in gold for a number of years, and you decide that you want to liquidate and you want to take the gold back. So for an example, you have 204 ounces of gold pool and you do want your Gold Eagles. This time you're going to get discounted rather than bonused. So you could say, send the Gold Eagles back. Instead of 204 that you have in pool, maybe you'll get 200 Eagles. You could request Krugerrands or whatever it is you want. There may be a discount or a bonus coming back out. Does that help?
Got it.
Okay.
So now what about the going interest rate and how taxes would be taken care of?
Since 2016, the average lease has been somewhere between 2 and 5%. We have a weighted average of the leases at Monetary Metals right now that's over 3%. That interest is going to be paid into your account monthly. The monthly deposit into your account, there's going to be a dollar value associated with at the close of the London exchange at the end of that month. And those monthly deposits into your account are going to be aggregated. At the end of the year, you're going to get a 1099 from Monetary Metals, just like you would from Chase Bank. Now, when we're talking about 1099s for sales, when you're selling gold pool, Monetary Metals does not 1099 you. So the math on that taxable gain, you and your accountant are going to have to take care of.
Could you please repeat that again?
Sure. So when we're talking about the selling of metal and do you get a 1099 for capital gains, Monetary Metals will not 1099 you for gold pool sales. You and your accountant are going to have to do that math.
Great. That is very helpful, Grayson. Thanks for clearing that up as well. So another question we got was just if going a little bit more in depth on the difference between a lease and a bond.
Okay, the short version first. A lease is when someone pays you to rent your property. A bond is when someone pays you interest. They take ownership of your property. It is on their balance sheet, and then they will later, at a later date, pay you back. Now, here's how that translates into the lending in the metal world. Companies that have gold and silver inventory but need more capital to run their businesses, they will lease from Monetary Metals. They can pay interest to have extra working capital and turn their inventories over, but their liabilities on the lease are always backed by existing metal. So the risk is virtually zero when properly mitigated. Therefore, the returns are more modest. Now, the companies that are actually issuing bonds are the ones that will have a future gold or silver income, and they want their debts denominated in the same currency. The obvious example here is a gold or silver mine. Obviously, if poorly managed, that future income may never materialize. So there's more risk in the transactions, and consequently more interest has to be paid to compensate bondholders. And the bondholders have to be accredited investors.
Okay. Yeah, makes complete sense. And then accredited investor, what is that exactly?
Okay, an accredited investor is someone who has $1 million or more in investable assets, or if they are licensed in the investment industry, or if they have $200,000 or more of income over the last 3 years running.
Okay, that makes sense. So the other big question that we're getting is, how does Monetary Metals have zero storage fees? So I'm going to send you my gold and I don't have to pay any storage fees. This is a huge selling point for a lot of people that just don't believe that can be true. So can you please explain that further?
Right. Well, there are always fees, David. It's just a matter of who pays them. So understand that Monetary Metals is the market maker, right? When we match a borrower and a lender, we are taking a spread out of the middle of whatever the borrower interest rate is being paid to the lender. So when you see a 3% lease payment coming up at Monetary Metals, that's 3% net of everything, including storage fees, to the depositor. So essentially, Monetary Metals is paying all storage fees.
Wow, that's great. So another question we got is, so is it cheaper to wire Monetary Metals and have them buy the gold or silver from a dealer? Or should, if somebody, a customer is going to send gold to you, should they just buy from a coin dealer that they know personally, or do they need to go find a coin dealer? What's going to be the cheapest option? Is somebody either bank wiring money or just buying the metal themselves and sending it to you? Right.
Monetary Metals is happy to send out a fee sheet so anyone can see what the purchase fees are. We're trying to stay competitive with coin dealers, so I don't think there's going to be a huge discrepancy. But you're more than happy to shop that around, and if you feel better buying the metal somewhere else and then shipping it to Monetary Metals to be leased out, it's perfectly acceptable.
Perfect. Thank you, Grayson. So if somebody wanted to do the research on Monetary Metals, just customer reviews, or just find out deeper information? Like when you first found monetary metals, what made you comfortable, or what would you say would make somebody comfortable? Just the history, since monetary metals has been around since 2016. What would you feel would make somebody comfortable just going online, watching information like you did with Keith, or what would be the best place that somebody could go and find out just real deep information about monetary metals?
Yeah, I think a YouTube search of monetary metals would be great, just so you can see that we've been doing this for a long time, and we're taking the space very seriously. But also there are a lot of testimonials online. The staff at Monetary Metals, if you're on the fence and you would like to talk to an existing depositor to have a conversation, they will broker that for you if that's going to be a big difference maker for you. And for some people, I understand that.
Perfect. So we got this mantra that gold is an unproductive asset. So, financial advisors, being in the business, and financial advisors that, gold's, don't get any dividends, you don't pay any interest. So what would you say to financial advisors, and specifically somebody like Dave Ramsey that calls gold unproductive?
Yeah, and I love this question, right? Because look, I've been an advisor, a registered investment advisor, for 25 years. So I get this question all the time, and I've obviously had a lot of interest in gold for a lot of years, like we were talking about in the other videos. So this one's right up my alley. Keep in mind, gold is not an investment. Gold is money. So when Dave Ramsey says gold isn't productive, why would you borrow it? Okay, Dave, well, that is comparing pushing gold into your closet or a stack of dollars into your closet. That's the apples for apples. Now, if we're going to find an investment with gold, it's a completely different animal. Again, I've been doing this 25 years. Monetary metals, I was very excited when I found them because I think it is by far the best exposure for the average investor to gold. Anyone can go out there and buy gold mining stocks, silver mining stocks, build a portfolio of those. Hey, if you hit it right, yes, you're going to make a ton of money, but that is a tough business. It's speculative. There's as good a chance you're going to lose a bunch of money as that you're going to make a bunch of money. Some people get excited about short-term trends in gold and silver. Maybe they'll open a futures trading account and lever up. Again, if you hit it right, you can do great, but the downside can be pretty ugly. You might have to write a check to get your account back to zero. Not a good idea. Then there's monetary metals. This is truly where you are taking your gold, your silver, and actual money. Now you're depositing it in a low risk, interest bearing account, and you're getting a return on it. And that's something that I'm certain that Dave Ramsey doesn't even know exists with monetary metals. I'll give him a call.
That'd be wonderful. So following up on that, so what would you say that makes monetary metals different from any other company? I know you mentioned gold's not an investment, but what would make monetary metals different than any other thing in the marketplace that gold and silver, that you can do investing wise? Sure.
And there's some other people that talk about leasing, getting a return on your metal, and you're depositing with them, and they have a use for your metal, and they're going to pay you interest in metal. There are a number of those things out there. Actually, through the years, lots and lots of those have come and gone. But understand that that's a completely different animal. That's a company using your metal and paying you interest off their earnings, and some of them have honestly turned into Ponzi schemes. Understand that what monetary metals is doing is completely different. We are the marketplace. We're the center. We're filling an economic need. There are borrowers that want the metal. There are depositors that have the metal. We're connecting them together. So this is a low risk investment where the currency is gold and silver rather than US dollars. It's that simple. And for someone that just wants exposure to gold and silver and wants to deposit and not have to worry about it, not worry about market timing or, should I buy more, or it's levered and I'm in trouble, there's a margin call. They don't want to deal with any of that. This is by far the best exposure that I've ever found to gold and silver.
That's great. Thank you, Grayson. One question. So I was talking with a coin dealer friend, and I was talking about monetary metals. And he said, my customers would be terrified if they didn't have their golds in their hands. So what would you say to the mantra, if you don't hold it, you don't own it? That's out.
Well, yeah, and I do understand that. And I think I said in previous videos, to hang on to some for an emergency situation, I absolutely understand. I do it myself. So I'm not suggesting that this is an all or none thing to people. And for some people, they're never going to get comfortable with it. And that's okay. It is their money. They need to understand that, their deposits and a lot of other investments in US dollar terms, they are taking plenty of risk, whether they realize it or not. In a nutshell, it's not an all or none thing. I perfectly understand some people wanting to hang on to some of their gold, some of their metal so that they have it. But at the end of the day, understand that the world's monetary system is changing. And I'm not saying the US dollar is going to zero anytime soon. But gold around the world right now, as we speak, is retaking some of that day-to-day currency position that it had decades ago. And that is going to start filtering over to America. So the gold is the doomsday, have my gold and have my guns kind of mantra that often accompanies the precious metals is going to start going away one way or the other.
Perfect. So Grayson, let's say I'm watching this video and I live in Ireland, or I live in England, or I'm in Chile, and this monetary metals, I want to invest in monetary metals. How can somebody in countries around the world, how can they do a gold and silver lease with or bond with monetary metals?
Foreign investors, that's a really good question, Dave. Now, right now, monetary metals, and I know I sent you the press release, but I'm sure a lot of people listening didn't see it. In Europe right now, there is a fund. A fund has been created so investors can deposit in monetary metals through the fund that's domiciled in Switzerland. A lot of different jurisdictions in Western Europe can utilize that fund. Depending on where you are for other jurisdictions, we would have to check it out. So if someone's listening to this in South Africa and they want me to look into it, or want one of the monetary metals guys to look into it, we certainly can. We also have a group in Australia that are going to put together a similar fund to the one that was created in Switzerland in Australia. So Australian investors will be able to do the same thing.
That's great. So Grayson, if customers had questions, where would they go on Monetary Metals website to find it?
So investors should go to monetary-metals.com. Under gold investing, there's a frequently asked questions section that goes through a lot of what we talked about here today, but maybe some more. And then again, if you aggregate more questions, I'd be more than happy to come back and do another video with you.
I'm sure we're going to have a lot of questions again, Grayson. So let's get together and do another Q&A. But on the next video, Grayson is going to walk us through how to actually open a monetary metals account. So you ready for it, Grayson?
Sounds good, Dave. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Hey, thanks a lot, man.
Thank you so much, Grayson.